Hello and welcome to a Mugful of Marketing, your regular dose of brews and views from across the world of marketing. We're Barnaby and James, 199, a marketing agency in Leeds. And this week, we're starting a new series on local marketing. We're going to be talking about how businesses and artists can connect with their audience, some of the challenges associated with marketing locally and in different regions, and some tips on, how to overcome them and do it yourself.
Yep.
So before we start, it's been a pretty busy time at the agency the last month or so. What have you been up to?
I went to Amsterdam, as I said on the episode last time. I was off to ADE, which is 400,000 odd people descending on Amsterdam from across the music industry, events industry, from all over the world to try and make their name. There's nothing quite like it really in music, so it's always a special kind of conference on the calendar, and one we always try and get ourselves to.
What were they talking about this year?
So I tend to split my time between talks and actually seeing people that I work with and don't get the chance to hang out with a lot that are living in America or Australia or wherever they are normally. So for me, that's almost more valuable than the talks themselves. But I did get to a few talks. There was a lot of themes around AI, as you'd expect. The kind of the pros and the cons. There's obviously a lot of people that are still spitting fire about it all, and there's a few people that are trying to use it to their advantage. So that was a big talking point, and I'm sure something on the podcast that we'll kind of continue to talk up as things develop. Mental health and content creation, and how those two things are quite heavily linked with the pressures of on-demand content just being expected of everyone all the time, constantly having to be creative, come up with new ideas, and the burnout that can kind of come with that. Being an authentic brand, that was another theme that came across in many talks that I saw, and probably will be a topic for years to come, I'm sure. But yeah, it was good. Yeah,
I'm also heading overseas. It's not quite the Amsterdam dance event.
You're not going to be doing too badly for yourself, though, are you?
No, I'm heading to Thailand for the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. My side of the business tends to focus quite a lot on sustainability, sustainable commodities, and the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil will bring together people from across the kind of world of palm oil, sustainable agriculture, a lot of NGOs and charities talking about kind of the future of legislation and sustainable commodities. And it's in Thailand. I've never been before. It's pretty exciting. But with that, I mean, lots of our clients, I think it's over 50% of our clients are overseas. And so to start this series, we're going to be talking about the challenges of marketing overseas and international marketing. Looking at some of the principles behind it, some of the challenges, and also some of the solutions.
Yeah. So let's get into it then, I guess. International marketing, what do we mean?
Go for it.
So we work across several different sectors, and what this means to those different sectors does vary slightly. It's all rooted in the same principle. Music and events, for instance, people tour different regions, different venues with different promoters. They all have their own communities and cultures attached to that. We have to target those with our campaigns. We have online brands.
Yep.
Where they have products that they ship to different areas. They might not have an HQ in those places that they're shipping. So they're relying on relationships and
distributors.
Yeah, exactly.
On the ground. And then we've got big multinational companies who have different regions all over the world who are selling different products across all of those different.
But with regions. All of those, you've got to be conscious of how you're operating in those different regions and what you're communicating.
I mean, principle-wise, the principles are very similar to the principles of any marketing.
Yeah, like local marketing seems to be a bit of a buzzword that's been kind of had a bit of a resurgence recently. That it covers all of the principles that we've grown up with as marketers from the beginning, essentially, which is relatable content that you can connect with.
Yeah. So why does it work? I guess is the what is involved? Why does it work?
Largely local elements, relatable things to help audiences connect with what it is that you're trying to sell as a brand.
And they tend to achieve the best results. Consumers and customers and clients, they want to see content that reflects their experiences.
Yeah, and like resonates with their lives.
Yeah.
So, challenges. I guess it's probably worth having a look at that.
I mean, there are lots, aren't there? Like, from a practical perspective, I guess the one that affects people in this office the most might be the time zones.
For sure.
Working across multiple time zones can be really challenging. We work, or have worked, from LA to
I've worked
Australia.
with every time zone at some point, and you sometimes just hope that the stars align with like where different members of the team are at that point.
And if either you or the clients aren't organised enough, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it slows things down, and it can be a massive pain.
Yeah. Working internationally is definitely a largely learnt skill that is centred around organisation, and something that you need to consider when you're looking to take work on that utilises or is based out of different time zones is, do you think the people that you're working with are organised enough and efficient communicators for it to work and for you to be able to deliver on your side?
Yeah, but there's I guess the other side of that is that the content that you're putting out, what time of the day is it going out?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it has to work in more than one region as well.
Yeah.
Who's losing out?
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes you can't actually serve all of them at the same time.
No.
So, yeah.
I think also one of the other challenges is obviously everything is now online to some degree, and not having a physical presence, whether that's a store or a distributor or a partner or a direct employee on the ground, brings up a whole host of challenges.
Yeah, it makes it hard to implement things sometimes.
Yeah. Especially with sort of physical stuff. You can't, all of the kind of in-person stuff goes out the window, all of the, or if it doesn't go out the window and you can deliver it, you're delivering it through a partner, but again, you're having to trust that they're going to do it.
If you wanted flyers to go out in a town somewhere that you have no actual representatives, you can find partners to do it, but you have no idea if it's been done.
The accountability it's difficult.
It might be sat in a bin somewhere, and likely are.
Yeah. Cultural differences as well. What works in some regions just simply doesn't work in others.
Yeah, you just need to have an understanding of the area. Some things don't resonate, and you just want to avoid having assumptions.
Yeah, I mean, politics, religious things, cultural differences, they all impact on what you can, cannot, and should not do in marketing. Even things like the media landscape, again, more practically. So in PR, like if you've ever watched Have I Got News for You in the UK, you'll know that they've got the headlines section where you have to guess the headline. It's always taken from some obscure industry magazine like Rubber Weekly or Oils and Fats International, both of which I've written for.
I think we're subscribers to many of these.
But we've got a really mature market. Whatever your niche is, you can find some trade media in the UK. It's not the same in every region. So, and also even getting into those publications, even if they have something, getting into it might be a different process. They'll have different editorial guidelines, and understanding that's really important.
Some brands may be looking to offer a different experience or like a look or a feel that isn't necessarily tied to like such a localized approach to marketing. They're trying to stand out away from it. I mean, you could argue that they still need to understand it to stand apart from it.
Yeah, you need to stand out, but you need to know what you're standing out from.
Exactly.
And you need to know why they're all doing something.
Yeah.
Because by standing out, you could, again, face some of the challenges that we've talked about.
Language barriers.
This is probably the biggest, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And we find it with digital content all the time. The more and more that platforms have pushed for automated translations, it works so badly. It's a great idea. I think it will ultimately save everyone a lot of time, but it's hard. And some things you don't want to leave to automated translations.
Well, we're going to discuss this later in terms of some high-profile examples of things like straplines might not translate particularly well. But even if the target region, the target country does speak English, they're going to have different slang, they're going to have different dialect words, they're going to have things they're going to have different memes. They're going to have stuff that simply culturally doesn't resonate.
No.
Even though you're...
It generally happens when you've got big companies that have spent many, many years refining their tone of voice in one language, and they're very emotionally tied to it, and they almost force it through into other regions, and it just doesn't literally translate in the same way.
No. Okay, so those are probably the biggest challenges. You know, what are our top tips and solutions to overcome these when you're marketing overseas?
Being more organic and raw. I think that's the core of being relatable with your content. It's always going to be having stock footage of local monuments and things like that. If you've actually got feet on the ground and people that are there, show that you have a presence there and that you're connected to that space. Yeah,
rather than, nothing says tourist or overseas brand like a stock picture of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah,
just 'cause
exactly.
You're in France.
Exactly.
I guess that feeds in as well to sort of leveraging the insights and looking to people on the ground in those different markets, rather than using stereotypes.
Yeah,
as well.
Insights over stereotypes.
Nice.
One that a lot of companies struggle with, being flexible.
Yeah.
They're ironically stubborn with their lack of flexibility, but it's I think you can't force one approach over so many different subcultures. You need to find a way to have a master brand that can be molded slightly in small segments, depending on where you're trying to connect.
Yeah, and some big corporates do this really well, and others do it really badly. We see that quite a lot, and even some artists do better than others, definitely.
For sure.
Sort of, I guess tying into that as well is creating content in the local language wherever possible and getting it translated by local people.
Yeah.
But hopefully local people who understand the community you're trying to reach as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can put ads around that as well. I know a big thing that people are always fighting against is maybe their master brand is in English and then they have all of the content in different languages that they don't necessarily want pumping through their main channels. That's fine. Have a strategy where your content is on the regional side more dark. It's just literally speaking directly to those people rather than being funneled through your main pages. It helps you connect, but also stay more international. Having that regionalised approach, but that's purely focused on that. Exactly.
Yeah. I think we look at some of the kind of high-profile examples of where big brands have got the language wrong.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So HSBC, they had a bit of a clanger, didn't they? It's their slogan, assume nothing, translated in some markets to do nothing.
Great, yeah. I think the KFC in China works best because finger licking good was mistranslated as eat your fingers off. So yeah, I mean, if you're marketing outside your country, just always ensure that you put your stuff through a local translator. Don't assume AI will get it right.
No, it's about finding partners you can trust, for sure.
And mistakes do happen, obviously. But offensive campaigns or messages that translate comedically, they just won't be forgotten.
No. So I think just try and be relatable or useful to the community you're trying to connect with. If you're not there, you need to find people that understand that and that can help you create the right content in that space.
So digitally, what might that look like?
Regional, influencers or content creators. Obviously, the effectiveness of influencers is a whole episode in its own right, but when done right, there's certainly ways to build campaigns around people that are known for creating content that is localized in nature.
Yeah.
So that is certainly something to consider and look at.
And local communities as well, local online communities that are in that space already.
Exactly.
A great place to start. Yeah. I think if we're going to sum it up, if you're going to improve your international marketing strategy as it stands, the key is to build those real relatable connections with your target community wherever in the world they are. That might be through authentic content or local insights or just simply reflecting the experiences of your audience. It's not just about location. It's about creating that familiarity, that trust, building your reputation, and building a sense of community.
And tailoring your approach to who you're trying to connect to, and find the right partners to do that with. I think it all stems from that. Great.
Okay, well, next time we're going to bring it more local.
There's so much we could talk about with this, and we had to figure out how we were going to split this up. But yeah, we can, I think, probably dig a bit deeper then, can't we, into local. Let's go more local.
Yeah, super local, more local kind of within regions and countries, and the tips that we can apply there. Until next time, thank you very much for listening to A Mugful of Marketing.
Yeah, drop us a subscribe, a follow, leave us a comment. We love hearing from you all. And we'll catch you next time.